shout out to everybody down here who's tapped into this channel, who's experiencing this conscious awakening. It's a beautiful thing to experience, family. I don't know what this is. I hope you do. No, not that. Sorry, Aisha. Where's it at? Will we have another Carrington event due to the solar flares this year? What is that, BDELL?
I think the last Carrington event was like I believe it was in 1870. It was some around in the 1800s. But
right.
Yes, we're going to have another Carrington event. That's when I think the whole electrical grid went down. So the same thing is actually going to transition, as we in the Great Awakening period. Because like I said, this is solar cycle 25. 2 + 5 = 7. So 7 is the epitome of completion. So this is the completion of a artificial simulation as we segue into the age of Aquarius. So it's one of those things where we are going to have intrinsic amount of solar flares that's going to be hitting the planet into where it's going to cause a Carrington event. So we got to be ready for it.
Right. Indeed. Somebody said light skin. Now Richie don't damn. No, we having a good time on this channel. Shout out to everybody. Like I said, shout out to everybody. Okay. Somebody wants to know, what is your prediction on how the Anunnaki are going to interact with us?
Like I said, a lot of these beings, their perception is being altered to the point where, like I said, they're not emotional. If you watch the TV series, The Man Who Fell to Earth, that species, or where he came from, he was very, he had many different afflictions when he came down to the three-dimensional world because he didn't understand the chaotic energy of humans having emotions. He thought it was a form of insanity. So the same thing actually takes place when you're talking about these galactical beings and these supreme beings or whatever you want to call them, cherubim, angel, seraphim in the Bible. These supreme beings, like I said, that they don't operate from a place of emotion. So it was one of those things where they're very neutral. It's to the point where, like I said, are they going to be able to utilize you in this Great Awakening period? It's not going to because like, you connect to my bloodline, you my homie. It don't work like that. It's one of those things where it's just like, I can utilize you because you're able to build structures that absorb cymatic frequencies to manipulate the grid system. We're going to utilize you because you're able to dish out a certain edification. We're going to utilize you because you're a healer, and we need you to heal people with intrinsic herbs and elements and minerals and stuff like that. That's what's going to be taking place. It's one of those things where it's not going to be subjected to. They're just going to be saving people, but you can't really look at it from a savior complex. You got to be able to save yourself as well.
Right. Do you think they want to know? Do you think it's dangerous to look at a solar eclipse? I know something's happening in April. I think April 8th this year.
Mm-hmm. I told people in my last video on my channel, I told them, I said it's a very imperative to go to these ancient mounds because you have America, in the geographical landmass of America, there's over 2,000 pyramids, and you only got 200 plus over in Africa. So you got mounds and pyramids all throughout the geographical landmass of America, especially where the next solar eclipse is going to be at, and on April 8th, I'm like right in the heart of it. And in that area, there's a lot of mounds. There's a mound where I live at here called Angel Mounds. So that's where I'm going to be during the time of a solar eclipse. I'm going to be at the mounds because a solar eclipse is basically the personification of the return of the ancestral energy. Right. So you want to get those energies that's coming in.
Excellent.
So it's imperative. Go to these ancient sites. When a solar eclipse, go to you in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Mm-hmm. I'll go up there. Go to a mound in your city. If you live in the Mississippi area, there's Mississippi mounds all throughout the Mississippi River or whatever. If you live in East St. Louis, there's a lot of pyramids in that area. Go to these ancient sites and these structures so where you can receive these energies.
You know, it's funny about the energy that just hit the planet today with the cell interruption. Yeah, I just went to Stone Mountain yesterday. I went there yesterday. I haven't been there in months. I just went there yesterday. I was there in the afternoon. I just decided to go there. You know, because I told BDELL, listen, fam, I talked to last time I talked to BDELL. I get inspired by everybody. BDELL stressed to me the importance of him working out his avatar, and we was just talking. We was like, "Yo, what's good with you?" We like, "Yo, what's good with you? How you doing on your end of the earth?" BDELL's like, "Yo, I'm working on my avatar, you know, da da da." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got to work on that." I'm like, "Yo, BDELL, that's something that I'm, you know, I got to work on and step my game up on." So I've been doing that more, BDELL, working on my avatar, letting my blood circulate, getting the oxygen in all my cells. And I'm like, I'm gonna hit Stone Mountain at least once a week. And I went there yesterday and it felt good. So shout out to everybody who lives next to something like that, a park or a mountain. Make sure y'all hit those up, y'all. Make sure y'all hit those up. It's very important that we connect back with nature. Let's get
I want to tell some. I want to reiterate this again, so it's very imperative that people understand that if you do not just stay in the house during the solar eclipse, like I said, go to a mound, go to those a pyramid structure, go to these ancient structures where our ancestors, had the land. We were connected to the land at that point in time. Go to those ancient structures to where you can receive these ancestral energies. That's
Indeed.
important.
Oh yeah, indeed. Let's get to a super chat. What about we just talked. What about? Well, I gotta ask this because it's a super chat question. What about the solar eclipse coming in April? Is it going to affect anything like this solar flare? I don't even get the question. Is it going to affect? Oh, is it going to affect things like this solar flare? Yeah. Will it knock something out? Are we?
It's basically going to activate a certain energy in that certain area. Okay. That's what's going to happen.
Okay. Definitely. Somebody said, "Rich, you been to Indian Springs yet?" No, I have to go there. Red Pill was telling me about it. I definitely have to go there, and I plan on going there. So thanks for reminding me. I will definitely get there sometime this year. Let's get to another question from the BDELL. They want you to explain the soul trap. What is the soul trap, BDELL?
A soul trap. So now, when you understand the Saturn Moon matrix, everything as far as the material plane works in conjunction with the moon. The moon is an interstellar vortex portal for reincarnation. So that's why the great majority of monotheistic religion, MON, is connected to the energy of MOON, the moon. So as far as religion, it all works on the Sabbath. So religion is actually a form of spiritual entrapment because it keeps you subjugated and entrapped of a spiritual box. Because that's when you open up a cube, it becomes a crucifix. Then you got the Star of David, and then you got the Kaaba and Mecca. All these is different forms of spiritual entrapment to subjugate you from a spiritual level to where you're not tapping into your intrinsic abilities on a spiritual level. So also having an emotional attachment to everything in the material plane is a form of a soul trap. Because like I said, when you're going through a process of reincarnation, if you had a veneration for cheeseburgers, right? So when they're going to create that holographic projection, when it's time for you to go in that white light, that's another way to bring you right back here. So like I said, you got to use your emotions as a navigation system in order to deviate from this matrix system. That's how you do it. You got to be balanced.
Indeed. I'm glad you said it like that, my brother. Let's get to one last question, then we're gonna get out of here, family.
That makes me understand why those when we were talking about altars, that's why those certain spirits keep coming back. I know this one girl, she puts tea down, for her grandmother, you know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where anything that's inanimate objects, it makes you come back to this realm. You don't want to have an emotional connection. You want to get away from this realm. You want to deviate from it.
Oh wow. All right, BDELL, last question. This from the sister Leah again. Shout out to Leah. Very active in the chat, supporting everything.
I thought she's supporting my channel too.
Yes, okay. Yeah, that's what's up. So okay. So she for real. Aaliyah wants to know, can you ask BDELL, what about single moms who work and homeschool? How do you suggest they prepare for the shift, BDELL? There's a lot of sisters in this situation, BDELL. What's your advice?
It's one of those things where now since we're at the apex of, you know, the matriarch, you need a man, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things, like, I forgot what verse it said in the Bible. It says that a lot of women are going to cling on to one man or something like that, 4 women to 1 man. But it's one of those things where you would need a divine masculine in order to, you know, to balance that energy out. Because it's one of those things where you can't look at this Great Awakening period in a form of individualism. You know what I'm saying? You need that counterpart, because just like in the movie Matrix, in order for Neo to get to the next level and escape the Matrix, he needed that divine feminine. Just like in the last Matrix movie that came out, he was able to escape because he had that divine feminine counterpart for him to get to the next level. So the same thing actually takes place with single women. So you need both energies, because the you know, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, that creates a tetrahedron energy, and that tetrahedron energy is the same energy to where you escape the Matrix system. So you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you need that counterpart in order to, you know what I'm saying, to where you can tap into the ability of being the best version of yourself, so you can be the best version for your children.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man, what a show, y'all. What a show, what a show, what a show. We still got about 3,400 people in the building. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I'm glad I got an opportunity to get to a lot of your questions. I asked questions I want to ask, but I got to y'all's. That's important, because I know this is an important event and things going on in the future. I want everybody to know how to maneuver, what to do. I guess the last thing I would ask BDELL before we get out of here, any recommendation about, everybody's diet is different, everybody's blood type is different. In terms of any recommendations you would give on a diet, not just be a vegan, but any recommendations on a particular diet to get some of these sun rays that's coming in, these downloads or anything like that. What do you think is most beneficial to us at this time, BDELL?
Okay. As I was telling you before, use your emotions as a navigation system,
Right.
Meaning that create a reward system for yourself. Don't cut certain things off cold turkey. Like I said, if you still eat certain things that's basically diabolical to your anatomy, you know what I'm saying? Try juicing. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, for the next 3 days, I'm just going to be just drinking juices. That's what I'm doing. Fast every once in a while, to where you get away from the emotional attachment of food, to where it puts you in a state of discipline. So it's one of those things where, like I said, if you don't have the mental fortitude and the spiritual fortitude to get away from certain foods or whatever, just try fasting. Fast for 2 days, just a water fast.
Right.
That might work for you. But for those who really take their diet seriously or whatever, you know, eat fruits and vegetables, you know what I'm saying? Keep doing what you're doing, you know what I'm saying? Building up your immune system and building up your anatomy to where you can take in these frequencies. Because it's going to come a point in time where the environment is going to be going to become so chaotic is where you're going to have to perform ultra fast internal conversion, meaning that you're going to have to be operating from a place where you're not going to be able to eat food all the time, to where you're just going to have to be eating from the energies within the ethers. So like I said, that's why I'm trying to prepare my body for. I'm trying to go, you know what I'm saying, see if I can go for a week without no food, just juice.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta put yourself in alignment to that, to where, you know, sometimes you gotta make yourself suffer in the form of a sacrifice. You gotta sacrifice the anatomy to tap into your higher self.
Indeed. Yeah, you know what helps me transition away from food and just not pay attention to it. I got to give a special shout out real quick, family, to the brother KT, the arts degree. I truly feel, I don't know if you ever tried his products, but the brother truly has some of the best products on planet Earth.
I got that gold stuff he got.
Okay, excellent. The brother, that's a blue pill, I think. The gold, the liquid gold.
I thought KT, he has his own version too.
No. That's blue pill right there. That's blue pill with the.
Okay.
KT got
I got it like last year.
Yeah. Okay. KT got the honey and the sea moss and the you know, phytoplankton and shit like that. KT got some amazing products, y'all. Amazing. So shout out to the brother KT. He has been helping me with my diet a lot lately. I did the fast. We did the fast with the brother in January. My diet has been on point since then, y'all. So I've been feeling a little more alive and vibrant as a result of that. And I want to thank the brother for helping me get my diet. Sometimes I slip up because of my lifestyle. I'm moving around so fast. So shout out to KT for helping me keep focused with my diet. With that being said, hey, BDELL, amazing, wonderful show. Packed house, 3,400 people still up in here. Tell the people your contact info so they can check out your YouTube, Instagram, and everything else you got going on.
Okay, my page on my YouTube is BDELL1014, BDELL1014. That same nomenclature title is on Instagram, BDELL1014. And you can also find me on Facebook, where I do a lot of self-help. Really just good quotes and everything that helps raise up the vibrational consciousness of the planet on Brado Rice Bay on Facebook. So that's where you can find me. I got another video coming out talking about the big event, the Luciferian Great Reset. I'm breaking that down, and that's coming out Sunday on my YouTube channel.
Indeed. Somebody said, how do you get past insecurity at Black? You have to elaborate on that, and ask that the next show I do when I do a Q&A, because I think that's something that a lot of people got to touch on, insecurities, but I don't know exactly what you're talking about, and we're about to get out of here right now. Hey, listen, thank you to everybody for tuning in. I just can't say enough how much of a wonderful show this is tonight. With that being said, BDELL, I'm gonna talk to you soon, my brother. Keep up the amazing work that you're doing, brother. Like I said, Yaki mentioned you. I went to your page and I felt the confidence in your words. You was like, I'm gonna be on his show one day. Like, you ain't know me from nothing. I know you, but I'm like, oh, this young brother's confident. And I just got drawn right back to you months later. And I was like, ain't this the dude from earlier, from a couple of months ago? And I was like, that is the dude. So, brother, keep doing your thing. When you vibrate on a certain frequency, nothing can deny you, family. People will be forced. Chat. Let me pull up something real quick if I can see it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come to it later. But you was talking about leaking energy, and that's something I talked to Dr. B Serious about, and that's something, a big problem we have is that we leak energy a lot. We have an electromagnetic field. We have an aura. Some people's are more magnetic than others. Some people, when they walk in a room, you can feel them. And I guess some people, they're weak, and you can see them just by the way they walk. They walk with their head down, and they may seem scared the way they act and behave, and that may show a weak magnetic field. But talk to me about leaking your energy, because that's very important concept that we need to understand.
Well, the best way to stop leaking your energy is to not make yourself so accessible. So, like I said, I'm one of those.
Talking about that, yeah. So the energy vampires, they often come disguised as friends, as family, as mates, and it could be pretty tricky about who to decide who. So what are some of the keys? Give me 3 keys to spot an energy vampire. Three things that, that's an energy vampire. That's it. Just give me 3, like, so we could spot them and we could stop giving our energy to those people.
Someone who hasn't done their shadow work, because we're so caught up into this vanity concept of we like things based on how they look, especially men. So in order for a man to decipher if a woman is an energy vampire or not, so in order for a man to decipher if a woman is an energy vampire, he has to understand that is she trying to bond with him on a traumatic level. Most of the relationships that you see nowadays are basically trauma bonds. They're not based on mental connections. That's the diametrical difference between the two. But the only way you can see that is because the great majority of people are dealing with a lot of their household issues. So if you're dealing with household issues, you're dealing with past trauma from relationships. You're dealing with anything that's connected to, if you're connected to anything on a materialistic level, because as soon as you take those things away, like I said, it would basically supplicate it into a weakness. So you'll only have to draw off my energy in order for me to get connected to your energy. So that's the difference. If anybody's dealing with, trauma in the household from their parents, trauma in relationships, and if anybody's has a veneration for materialism, so much to the point where it becomes a weakness or an addiction.
Do you think, we're in a world where people, there's a lot of talk about mental issues. When we're on the internet and we see people talk a lot about, sometimes people will say things like, yo, I was thinking about killing myself, or I was thinking about harming myself. Do you think like those people could be energy vampires as well?
Sometimes. Sometimes. A lot of times people like that are manipulated by archons. They're also manipulated by, graves. Because everything they do is basically connected to a three-dimensional concept, because to where they want to have an experience in this realm through a physical vessel. So everything they do is they basically pull on the energy of people who haven't done their shadow work, the ones that's connected to trauma. So but also it also can have something to do with people just not doing their shadow work. You have to come to terms with your own fuck ups in order to revitalize your problem. Unless, you know what I'm saying, otherwise you're just basically going to be a problem to everything all around you.
Yo, what's one of the giveaways right away for me to energy vampires? When you tell them something good, they'll try to change the subject, or they'll get quiet. They'll be excited about shit. You be talking, then you just, yo, guess what happened? Yo, my nigga, yo, guess what just happened? Yo, and they'll be like, word, yo, so Trump just got arrested, right? They'll change the topic real fast. It'll throw you off. You'll be like, oh shit. And in your mind, you'll be like, yeah, Trump just get indicted. But in your mind, you like, this nigga just changed the subject in 0.5 seconds.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, because like I said, a lot of times when you a chosen one, your light is going to put a spotlight on other people's fuck ups. So much to the point, like I said, it's almost to the point where they got to look in the mirror, because you're basically an emulation of what they want to be. So they use that as a defense mechanism to deviate from their own responsibilities. So it's all, like I said, it's all based on the psychology of people not dealing with their shadow work, because like I said, that trauma creates behavior modification, which creates dark psychology. So this is where you get people want to hurt themselves, want to pull on other people's energy and things of that nature.
So you think when we use the term supreme magnetism, the more magnetic you are, the chosen ones, the more magnetic you are, the more you should stay in solitude? Like, is that a necessity because of people that your light is so bright, they will try to pull on it? Like, is that something you definitely tell people who have strong magnetism, is to definitely spend the majority of the time in solitude?
Yeah, because we live in a time right now where everything is compromised. The great majority of people are compromised on a neurological level, because people get their concepts of what it is to be, to live in this system. They get it from television. So like I said, everything is based on external stimulation. So what happens is when you a chosen one, it's best that you just stay solo until you meet your tribe. So you meet people who are just like you, which is very slim to none.
Now, BDELL, you talk about shadow work and uncovering the past traumas in your life. Earlier you talked about these 3 shadowy beings that you encountered, that your life kind of changed after that. I don't hear people talk a lot about, since we're talking about a shadow, is, wait, let me see. You see how I'm, let me see. So, okay. You see how like I'm casting a shadow on this? Nobody talks about our actual shadow. Like, I was thinking one day, like, people talk about doing meditations in the mirror and hypnotizing yourself. I wonder what information our shadow holds. You know how everything's been flipped, and we're trained to think the shadow's behind us and it follow us. What if we're following the shadow and the shadow's not really following us? You know what I'm saying? Like nobody really talks about what's contained in this blackness that we see everywhere we go. You know what I'm saying? Is there anything that you got intuitively or any downloads you got about this shadow that we see everywhere we go that we may not know?
No, but that's also could be the precursor to the fact that we live in a multi-dimensional universe.
Yeah.
How you know that your shadow self is not your higher self trying to work out the kinks and everything in this reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that thought before. That's a good one. That's a good one. Uh-oh. That's a good one, BDELL. Yeah.
So that's what I get from it, you know. So that's the only perspective that I got from it from my own interpretation.
Damn, nigga say your shadow self might be a higher self. Wow. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, we've been lied to on such a massive scale.
Most definitely.
That this process of let me ask you this: would you say, you know, the black nobility, as you call them, would you say they have an advantage over brothers like me and you because they may have these sacred texts, these sacred cheat codes, these sacred whatever that we may not have access to? Or do you think because we're connected to the all that there is no advantage level? What do you think about them having all this shit that these books and things versus us we scrambling, meditating, trying to get all of this now? Do you think they have an advantage over us, my brother?
Most definitely, because everything is basically controlled information. So like I said, since we live in this electrical grid system, it's hard for us to tap into those energy through magnetism. So like I said, we're not speaking in our native tongue. So it's hard for us to beat them on a spiritual level. Because like I said, we're not tapped into our original energies when it comes to the power and the octave vibration of our tongue. So that's why they compromised everything through colonization when they brought the missionaries over here and stole the land and gave us religion. They know that was the inception point of how they subjugated us to have dominion over us in this geographical landmass. So I would say, you know, it's based on controlled information because they have a lot of artifacts. You ever heard this thing called the Chronos Visor?
No, what's that?
They have that. That is something that the black nobility has inside the Vatican archives, and it's basically a projection of a photon holographic depiction of what everything went on all throughout ancient history. They have that technology inside the Vatican. So that's how they're able to use what can I say? The CERN machine. Because the CERN machine is actually where the headquarters of the black nobility is at, which is the particle accelerator and the hadron collider. So yeah.
Speaking of CERN, what are your thoughts on what they tell us about the Big Bang and what you've researched and found out? Like in terms of how
I don't think it happened like that. Just based on, you know, on my independent research.
Yeah.
But I think the Big Bang theory is based on a westernized doctrine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To hide, you know, the fact on who was on this planet first and what really happened. Because if you understand the past, you will know what's going to take place in the future. Because like I said, I was telling you about the blue star Kachina. Because blue star Kachina is basically nature's version of a CERN machine because it contains particles of hadrons to where it can manipulate the fragment of time and take it to a different space and time. So this is where you have the coming of the fifth dimension. That's why I said 2025, in my opinion, is where you're going to see the blue star Kachina in our atmosphere. So that's like I said, that's going to be the inception point of the Great Awakening and the Great Separation.
Right.
The dimensional split of from those who are connected to the three-dimensional and those ascending to the fifth dimensional.
You know, you keep talking about this split.
You know, I keep saying this, but that's where you're going to have the activation. When you see that blue star in the heavens that's coming from the 19th galaxy, that's that's going to be the inception point of great calamity, where you're going to have your so-called your pole shift. That is going to be your great reset right there.
In terms of everything that we're talking about, where do you think artificial intelligence fits into all of this?
Okay, I'm glad you said that. Well, like I said, everything is based on Babylonian money magic, which is a form of economic Darwinism, which is imperialism, which also leads to classism and racism. So when you have the AI technology, like I said, is the third eye, for the beast is actually artificial intelligence and technology. So when you have these smart cities and things of that nature, that is basically going to put an encryption on your anatomy and on your neurological chemistry. So now this is a problem, because now when you have these calamities on the planet, when you have the destabilization of the water source, now when you have these 5G frequencies, EMF waves of them, it basically swells up the nanotechnologies that's inside these AI technologies. When you're talking about the digital currency system, it swells up those particles and they basically become a bonding agent. So when you have a manipulation in the food source, when you have a manipulation in the water source,